let's talk about writing really good React code. I mean, the kind of code that's a joy to work on. Whether you're starting a brand new app or you're trying to make sense of a project you just inherited, these three pillars are going to be your guide to building something that's scalable, easy to maintain, and just blazing fast.
So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever opened up a React project, taken one look at that file tree, and just felt completely overwhelmed? Like, where do you even start? It's a feeling we've all been through, right? This tangled mess of files where finding one little piece of logic feels like you're on some kind of archaeological dig. Well, that's what we're here to fix.
So, our first pillar is all about the foundation, how you organize your code. Now, this isn't just about being neat and tidy for the sake of it. Think of this as the architectural blueprint for your entire application. It's what makes the difference between building a solid, stable skyscraper or a house of cards that's just waiting to collapse. Okay, this slide right here tells the whole story. On the left, you've got the before. This is what happens when you group files by their type. You've got a folder for all your components, another for all your hooks, another for services. And to work on a single feature, like a user profile, you have to jump between 3, 4, maybe 5 different folders. It's just chaotic. But now, look to the right, the after. This is feature-based organization. Everything, and I mean everything, related to that user profile, the component, the hooks, the tests, the styles, it all lives together in one single folder. It's intuitive, it's self-contained, and man, is it easier to find things.
And the payoff for doing this? It's huge, and it's immediate. When all the code for a feature is in one place, debugging becomes so much faster. You're not hunting for files anymore, they're right where you expect them to be. And bringing new developers onto the team? It's a total breeze, because the project structure literally maps to the features of the app. A logical folder structure isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential for any project that you want to see grow and succeed.
Okay, so once your project is organized, what's next? Well, that brings us to pillar number 2, building reusable components. I want you to think of these as the Lego bricks for your app, right? Instead of building a new custom wall from scratch every single time you need one, you just grab the bricks you've already made and snap them into place. It's all about being efficient, consistent, and frankly, just plain smart. But what really makes a component a great Lego brick? It really boils down to 3 key things. First, it's got to be pure. That means if you give it the same inputs or props, it will always give you the exact same output. No surprises. Second, it needs to be focused. It does one thing and one thing only. And finally, it has to be prop-driven. All of its behavior and its appearance are controlled from the outside through its props. That makes it totally predictable and independent from the rest of your app. So how do you actually do this? Well, it's actually a pretty simple 4-step process. First, you identify a pattern. You start to notice you're building the same kind of button or a card over and over again. Step 2, you isolate the UI. You pull all that repeated JSX out and stick it in its own component file. Third, you define its API. You figure out what needs to change each time, like the button's text or its icon, or what happens when you click it, and you turn all of those into props. And finally, you make sure you keep it pure, making it a reliable building block you can use anywhere. You know, there's a saying that just nails this idea perfectly. It's all about the single responsibility principle, but for your UI. A button component should just be a button. A card component should just be a card. It shouldn't be off fetching data or messing with global state. A truly great component does one thing, and it does that one thing incredibly well.
So we've got a beautifully organized app, and it's built with these awesome reusable components. We're done, right? Well, what if it's slow? That's where our third and final pillar comes in, performance. This is like the final tune-up that makes sure your wonderfully architected app is also a joy to use, giving your users that fast, snappy experience they expect.
So, where does that slowness usually come from? Well, in the world of React, there is a silent performance killer that's almost always the culprit: unnecessary re-renders. This is what happens when a component updates itself, even though, from a user's perspective, absolutely nothing has changed. Your app ends up doing a ton of extra work behind the scenes, and that's what leads to that laggy, sluggish feeling. The good news is, React gives us a whole toolkit to fight back against this. We can wrap our components in react.memo to tell them, hey, don't re-render if your props haven't changed. We can use the useMemo hook to cache the results of expensive calculations so we don't have to do them over and over. We've got useCallback to stop functions from being recreated on every single render. And for initial load times, we can use code splitting to break our app into smaller pieces that only load when the user actually needs them. And trust me, the impact of using these tools is not small. When you intelligently stop a complex list from re-rendering every single time a user types a letter in a search box, or when you code split a huge charting library so it only loads on the dashboard page, you can transform an app that feels laggy and slow into one that feels completely instantaneous. That's the goal.
All right, that was a lot, I know. We've covered a ton of ground. So let's bring it all home with a quick and simple checklist. These are your key takeaways for writing truly excellent React. Let's just boil it down one last time. For organization, remember to structure your project by feature, not by file type. That creates a code base that's a dream to navigate and scale. For components, build them small, focused, and pure, so they act like those reliable Lego bricks. And finally, for performance, you have to be proactive. Prevent those unnecessary re-renders with tools like memoization and code splitting to keep your app feeling fast and responsive. And that's really it. Those three pillars, organization, components, and performance, they are the bedrock of any fantastic React application. So I'll leave you with this question. Looking at the projects you're working on right now, what's the first refactor you're going to make after hearing this? Thanks for watching.